Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Premier Division show, and we had another cracking weekend of action in the Electricity League of Ireland Premier Division. If you're new around here, please hit that subscribe button, like the video if you like the content. We also have a Patreon service if you want to check that out. It's only €5 a month. If you'd like to support the channel, that would be fantastic. That'll be in the link and in the description. So what a weekend we had, and no better to start off at the Brandywell, where Derry City had a ridiculous 7-2 win at home to Waterford FC. Derry City are flying now, aren't they? They're second in the league. 9 points behind Shamrock Rovers with 2 games in hand. I'll talk about that in a little minute. But another brilliant performance. After the 3-0 win at home to Drogheda. And, you know, they're really flying at the moment, Derry City. To score 7 goals in this league against any team is no mean feat, to be fair. Liam Boyce really coming into form. The man's on a hat-trick this week. He scored now 8 goals for the season for Derry City. They've won the last 4. Absolutely fantastic stuff. A couple of good 1-0 away wins as well. So they've won the games differently, so to speak. But absolutely brilliant performance here. And, as I said, Liam Boyce scoring a hat-trick. They were 4-0 up at half-time. And sometimes when you're flying in a game like that and you're 4-0 up at half time, you kind of tend to put on the brakes in the second half, and they didn't really do that. Okay, Waterford got 2 goals back in the second half, but you often see where the opposition wins the second half or gets a draw in the second half, if you like. But Derry City went on and got 3 more goals in the second half. Diallo's goal was an absolute cracker, wasn't it? Connolly was on the score sheet in his 100th appearance for the club. Duffy, Gavin White scored the other goals for Derry City. Michael Duffy, 4 assists and a goal. Gavin White, 2 assists and a goal. Duffy has 8 goals, 7 assists this season. And he's been playing well all season. But some of the new players have settled in now, haven't they? That seems to be the case. You feel sorry for Podge Hammond. He's top scorer in the league, joint with Moses Dyer, but Moses Dyer's left. He scored 2 goals in this game. You feel sorry for him being on the losing team as such, to be fair to him. But, Coleman, obviously, at the final whistle, he wasn't very happy. Obviously, he's not going to be very happy. In fairness, to give Derry City credit too, which they do deserve a lot of credit. But usually when you see results like this, especially in our league, where there's not a massive gap between the teams in our league, it's twofold. It's one team playing really well and the other team playing really poorly. And, Coleman, there's not much else he could do but apologise to the fans, etc. In Waterford's defence, though, it's not as if they've been on horrible form. They came into the game and just couldn't get into the game, basically. They conceded an early goal and just didn't get to the pitch of the game. Now, a lot of that's down to Derry City as well. The interplay, the quick movement, the ruthlessness as well, to be fair. They're very ruthless. I mean, let's be honest too. So that's not going to happen in Waterford every week. Drogheda United, of course, beat Sligo Rovers 7-0. But Sligo Rovers came out the next week and won. That was against Waterford. So in a weird way, this mightn't be a bad thing going into Waterford's game against Cork City on Friday for them. As for Derry City, just absolutely flying with confidence at the moment and playing really, really well. It is looking as though they're the only team who could catch Shamrock Rovers potentially. And there's a lot of people saying that Rovers will probably win it, and I still think they probably will win it. But if Derry can just keep in touch whilst Shamrock Rovers in Europe especially, there's half a chance, more than half a chance, that Shamrock Rovers could get back into the Conference League. That could affect them, and Derry City have to be waiting in the wings, to be honest. Somebody has to be waiting in the wings, but obviously Derry City are the closest to actually doing that at the moment, and it just looks like to me that they've settled. Gavin White, the likes of Liam Boyce now getting in the goals. Winchester's been playing well for a while, actually. Diallo's playing brilliantly at the moment. It's amazing to think Adam O'Reilly isn't in the team. So that shows the strength of midfield at the moment. The back three has suited them. I've said that before, to be fair. And as I said, Boyce is getting amongst the goals. And suddenly they look like a team who can get goals from an awful lot of positions. On the left and the right, they look very dangerous now. With Duffy, of course, and Gavin White. Just scintillating performance, scintillating results, scintillating the way they played in this game. And I watched this game back, actually, completely. I usually watch a game back, if you know what I mean. So I picked this one, obviously, 9 goals as well. But yeah, from Waterford's point of view, as I said, they were all over the place and just didn't get to the pitch of the game. They were punished basically for that, and they'll have to lick their wounds and go again. Let me know what you think in the comments. Sullivan and Lamb Park finished Drogheda United 1, Galway United 0, and a brilliant result for Drogheda. Kareem scoring on his debut, the 19-year-old forward, on 50 minutes to give Drogheda United the lead, and not an awful lot in the game, it has to be said. Galway probably pressed more in the first half, to be honest. Drogheda managed to get the goal early in the second half. It was, ironically enough, it was a Galway type goal, to be honest. It was a throw-in. Owen Lamb sends a brilliant throw into the box, to be honest. Keeley knocks it down. Kareem is there and he's alert and finishes to the net. And that was enough to give Drogheda the win. A real grind-out result, I would say, for Drogheda. A very good result for Drogheda. Puts them fourth in the league and on 38 points. Galway remain in 7th place, actually, on 29 points. 2 games in hand, though, with the teams ahead of them, by the way. But they'll be disappointed enough with the performance. As I said, done most of the run the first half, to be honest, but lacked that bit of punch, I think, to be honest with you there. And Shaw is a player that's, at the moment, trying to replace Dyer, but I do believe they're looking at trying to get another striker as well. Drogheda United missing a couple of players. Of course, Dougie left the club, and Warren Davis looks like he's probably leaving the club. He hasn't featured in the last 2 matches either. So you're missing, you're losing particularly attacking talent then in that team. And so when you call on someone like Kareem, who's come through the academy at Drogheda United previously at St. Kevin's, and he scores, it's something that's going to be very pleasing to Kevin Doherty. But fantastic result for Drogheda, much needed result for Drogheda. They just needed to win by hook or by crook in this game. They certainly did do that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Richmond Park finished St. Patrick's Leg 0, Bohemians 0, and I was at this game. Did a matchday vlog on that, so go back and check that if you haven't seen it. Very poor first half. Very poor first half, I have to say. Dougie James Taylor had a decent chance. Pats had hit the bar through Jay McClelland. It was a good effort, actually. Outside of that, yeah, it was just a poor first half. Both teams were kind of flat, where Pats slightly better, maybe slightly better. On to the second half, and the second half was better. Couldn't have been worse than the first half, but not absolutely brilliant either. Pats were the better side for most of the second half, and then the last probably 15 minutes or so, Bows really came into it, and the Saints got very jittery at that point and looked like they were going to concede a goal. Just looked like a team that, you know, when you're lacking confidence, even if you're doing a lot of the running for the half, you tend to get nervous you might lose the game. And I think that's what happened with Pats. And Bows kind of smelled blood in that phase of the game. Devoy really came into it in that phase of the game. Players like Collie Whelan, who came on as a sub, probably should have scored. Actually, Tierney came into it at that point as well. And they had some chances. Pats had some chances. But again, lacking a lot of composure in front of goal. Keane Levy does well in an instance where he does brilliantly, but all of a sudden realises in and goal and just slashes it with his left foot. I think he could have opened up with his right. A lot of that kind of play from Pats. Great ball into the box from McClelland at one point, asking for someone to finish it. No one was there to finish it. But they did score, however, through Simon Power early in the second half. And to be honest with you, me and Billy, who was at the game as well, were on line with this. And at the time, we thought he's not offside. But you're never 100% sure, are you, until you see it back, like, you know, that kind of way. The ball was a good move by Pats, actually. Bagley, it was under a hit pass, actually, McLaughlin as well. But good first 1-2 touch football from Pats, and Lennon plays the ball through. Power, he does break deep and got in between the defenders and finished, but he was deemed to be offside. To be honest with you, I was right on that side as well and very close to the line where I stand, actually, when I'm vlogging the game at Pats. And the linesman, I don't know where he was. He certainly wasn't in front of me. He was nowhere to be seen, so he wasn't up with the play. And look, these things happen, to be honest with you. It happens every team. And it's usually, I personally don't really go on about these things. But the way Pats are at the moment, with 1 goal in 5 games, when you're in that situation, it feels like nothing's gone right for you, to be honest. And they'll be disappointed with that. The performance overall, not brilliant, but probably slightly better than it has been the last few weeks. Work rate a little bit better as well. Still think they're lacking overall a bit there. Certain players in that, I'll be honest. Bowes, didn't play well themselves overall. They probably dug deep in the game and worked hard, but didn't really play well themselves. And ultimately, 0-0 was probably a fair result, to be honest with you, overall. And largely forgettable game, to be fair. 0-0. Let me know what you think in the comments. Talca Park have finished Shelbourne 3, Cork City 1. This was Joey O'Brien's first game in charge as permanent Shelbourne manager. And I think it's a good appointment, you know. I was thinking about it there the other week. It's a continuation, really. Joey O'Brien has been on the, obviously, his assistant to Duff and doing a lot of the coaching, actually, anyway. Manager is a different role, we know that. But there's not much upheaval by bringing Joey O'Brien in. And Joey O'Brien could well prove to be a very, very good manager, actually, to be honest. And be interested to see when he gets his own players in. Maybe this window, not really, more the next window, etc. But he's carried on the system that Duff was using. I'm sure he'll try have little tweaks and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, I think the main reason for that is that they don't really have wingers at the club. You know what I mean? You wouldn't call Harry Wood and Ali Coote actual wingers. You know what I mean? So, and speaking of Harry Wood, another really good performance from Harry Wood. Scored a goal in 2 minutes, pressed the Cork defence. Poor defending from Cork, but Wood does well, finishes. Also sets up Meepo for his goal after 6 minutes, and Cork at this point were a calamity. They did manage to get a goal back in 42 through Nelson, and Lunny scores on 83 minutes where it was crossed into the box but sails into the back of the net. Charlie Lyons picks up a red card as well, and I've seen this online that people say it was harsh. The tackle, yes, but he actually got the red card for mouthing at the referee. I do know what he said to the referee, to be honest. I'm not going to repeat it here, but you'd be sending him off for that. Trust me on that. Very poor, to be honest, with Charlie Lyons, I have to say. Cork are just shambolic at the back. I'm sorry, but especially since Clancy left, I think they've got worse, being honest. They have defensively. I know they brought in some players and that. But I don't know. I mean, I don't want to go back into Sligo too much because we'll be talking about Sligo soon, but they look miles away from Sligo, to be honest with you. And Sligo look like they're getting better for me. Cork look like they're getting worse as the season, dry throat, as the season goes on. And they're so open at the back. They play very high under Nash, to be honest with you. And I don't know, should they be looking to dig deep? They're 5 points behind Sligo Rovers. It's not a massive gap, but it's just the way I've seen Sligo compared to Cork, especially in the last couple of weeks as well. I think there's a big difference, and they're not getting enough Shawnee Maguire, let's be honest. It's been overall disappointing with Shawnee Maguire, to be honest with you. Cottle Sullivan looks like a player that his head is half out the door, and these are some of their better players. But the back, they're just all over the place, and teams can get at them easily. One clean sheet this season, and comfortable win really for Shelbourne. I thought to myself actually ahead of the game, it's a nice first game, to be honest, for Joey O'Brien as permanent manager to get his first win. And the game's over after 6 minutes. That's the reality for Cork City. The game was over very early a few weeks ago when they went to Tallaght Stadium as well. And it's starting to look like, as I said, they have made some signings, but it's starting to look like there's no way out of it for them. Sligo Rovers are a team that are getting stronger and made some, what I would say, better signings, if I'm honest, too. So it's not looking good for Cork City. Let me know in the comments if you're a Cork City fan. As for Shelbourne, they'd be hoping to, obviously they have Linfield next in the Champions League qualifier, which is brilliant for them. Their first game in over 20 years in the Champions League. And it's always a very interesting game, isn't it, when a team in this country plays a team up north, and Linfield are a big club, the biggest club in the north. I don't agree with Pat Fenlon, they're not the biggest club in the island. But really interesting game. And people were saying when Duff left that he's left us in a difficult situation with the Champions League and that, but in hindsight, it might be the best thing for Shelbourne because, there was a lot of aggro there, wasn't there, and stuff. Joey O'Brien will calm them a bit, steady the ship, and get them right, I think, for the Linfield game. And it's a game I'm looking forward to. It's a game I'll be at and vlogging as well, so really looking forward to that. I'll also be vlogging the Pats game on the Thursday in Europe too. I better not get them mixed up and end up in Richmond on Wednesday, Talking Thursday. But yeah, really interesting stuff for Shelbourne. Great appointment, great result, and get some back in the European race, to be honest. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Another game I watched was Sligo Rovers and Shamrock Rovers at the showgrounds, and it finished 2-2, and it was a really enjoyable game, very open game, really, really enjoyable. And it's funny because despite Sligo Rovers going 2-0 up, I don't think they'd be that disappointed with the point at all, because the performance was good and they've gained the point, to be honest. Yeah, Jad Hikiki scoring 2 goals in 9 minutes, very good header from a corner, and Shamrock Rovers were very open for the second goal, but Sligo Rovers attacked with verve, and Hikiki does very well to cut in kind of from the left and finish to put Sligo Rovers 2 up. But that was 25 minutes gone, and you're thinking to yourself, first of all, you think it's not going to finish 2-0, but if there's one team you definitely don't ride up off being 2-0 down, it's the Hoops, to be fair. And Cleary gets them back in the game in 33. Sligo Rovers will be disappointed with this one, though, to be honest, with this goal that they conceded as well, because it's a free kick and it comes off the wall, but they don't react quick enough. They get 5 or 6 of them on ball watching, basically. And Rovers have a couple of players at the far post, and Cleary does well to head home, but poor defending from Sligo Rovers into the second half, and Shamrock Rovers put them under a lot of pressure. Dylan Watt sends in a lovely cross, and Josh Honan, the back post, power header 2-2. And at that point, you thought Shamrock Rovers were going to go on and win the game. But Sligo Rovers dug deep, and the chances themselves, France Lille and Botra comes on and just lacks a bit of composure in the final moments. He could have won it for them too. Jack Bourne came on, was very influential in the last 20 minutes or so, made everything tick for Shamrock Rovers. And ultimately, it's one of those games where both teams, in the end, probably were satisfied with the points. Both teams probably would have felt like they could have won the game in the end as well, as I said. But really, really entertaining game. Like what I'm seeing from Sligo Rovers at the moment, I mentioned it while talking about Cork City there. Apart from the 5-point gap, they just look like a side that's improving. Whereas Cork City look like they were regressing, being honest with you. And a couple of good debuts. I thought McLean done well in his debut here for Sligo Rovers. Ryan O'Kane struggled a bit, I have to say. To be honest, he did struggle a bit in this game. And Ryan O'Kane was always a bit of a confidence player. He hasn't been playing, so that doesn't surprise me for Sligo Rovers. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Can they finish beyond... James McMahon made a decent debut as well, actually. But can they finish beyond? Can they catch a Waterford or maybe a Pats or whatever? Potentially. It's hard to know. They have a lot to do that, though. They have a lot to do that. But they're certainly improving. Still a bit iffy at the back at times, but 9 times out of 10, the one thing I'll say about Sligo Rovers is that they're enjoyable to watch. They are enjoyable to watch, and maybe some fans wouldn't like that in a way and kind of go, that's because we concede a lot as well. But they are enjoyable to watch. Their games are enjoyable to watch, and and they can play football. I've said that before. There's nothing wrong with they're a decent side. It's just a strength of this league, and that's one of the main reasons they're down there, and the fact that they conceded a lot of goals. But I would say Cork City's defence is actually worse than theirs, to be honest. And Sligo's attack is definitely better than Cork City's attack. So looking good for Sligo Rovers compared to where they were a few months ago. Shamrock Rovers will be content with the point. I think they'll be aware, though, that obviously going into Europe in the next couple of weeks, and there's a decent chance they could go far in it or certainly get to the Conference League. So they'll be aware that they want to keep a decent gap if they can, because they'll see teams like they would have seen Bowes before, perhaps, and certainly Derry City potentially taking advantage of maybe Rovers being in Europe, basically, because if they do get into the Conference League again, that's twice in a row. We don't know how that's going to affect them in terms of tiredness and fatigue by the end of the season. And it always knocks a tiny bit of focus off. The likes of Derry City aren't in Europe. So, that's still favourites for me, but it's certainly not done, as they say. Which is great. Shamrock Rovers fans wouldn't like that, obviously, but for the league's perspective, it's great in my opinion. But That's it, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe again. I'll be at Richmond Park and I'll be at Talca Park for the two big European matches in which I'll be vlogging. And I'll get a preview out for the three Premier Division games as well. There's a big one at the RSC where Waterford FC take on Cork City. Thanks very much for watching again. Bye bye.